Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Something a little bit different in this video. Hey, if you've been in and around the Pokemon card investing / collecting space for at least the last 3 years, you've probably come across this image. And if you're new to the space and haven't come across this image, I'm going to go into it in a little bit of detail. And I think this image, and it's probably foreign to some people, but very familiar to a lot of others, it brings about a really, really important topic of conversation. And before we get into that though, hey, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It means a lot. And if you want to become a channel member, that would also be greatly appreciated. You can join up from the homepage, and once you are a channel member, you can shoot me any emails related to Pokemon investing or cricket or golf, and I'll get back to you in a timely manner. Hey, this picture, hey, let's bring it back up on the screen. Now, I want to give you a little bit of background around it to the best of my knowledge. And there's a heap of speculation around this image. So what it is, of course, it's misplaced, stolen, whatever you want to call it. For lack of a better word, stolen's probably the right one, but for lack of a better word, that's what we're going to use. These are all Fusion Strike Ultra Rares. So if you look in the picture, of course, you can see a lot of beautiful cards in there. Of course, there's some rainbows, but there's some big hitters. There's Espeon VMAXs, there's Mew VMAXs, there's Inteleon VMAXs, there's Gengar VMAXs, all alt arts. And I mean, if you add them up, you've probably got something along the lines of like 200,000 US dollars worth of value there. Now, when it comes to those things, there's a bit of speculation around exactly what happened. Now, I'm not in and around it. Of course, you know, there probably needed to be some hush-hush afterwards while an investigation took place. But to the best of my knowledge, someone or the employees or whoever stole them has taken them into a local trading card place, sat them down, or not sat them down, but indicated, you know, we've got a fair number of Fusion Strike Ultra Rares if you want to look at purchasing them. Now, the sheer number of them, how many packs you'd have to open to get that total number would just be astronomical. Like if the odds are 1 in 700 to pull a Gengar and you have 400 Gengars, that means you've opened 400 times 700 packs, which when I went to school is what, 280,000, 28,000, 280. Either way, the point is you would have just had to open such an astronomical amount of Fusion Strike booster packs to not only get the Gengar, but to get the Espeons, to get every Ultra Rare. Like, it's just not possible. So that card shop has obviously reported it to the Pokemon Company International and said, hey, look, something's gone wrong here. Now, what exactly went wrong is the big question, because the way sort of the printing works, it all goes through a lot of testing processes, and this is probably what happened. I don't know if a statement's been released. I haven't looked into it, but I imagine, you know, everything's done. It's all computer generated now, and it gets put on the printing press, and they come out in sheets. We've all seen the uncut sheets. If you've been in and around the collecting / investing world, you've seen the uncut sheets. Eventually, of course, they'll get cut. Now, one or two things could have happened. One, quite often at the early stages of printing a new set, particularly when it comes to new alternate arts and textures, a lot of them get set aside for, you know, QC, so quality control, to check how things are going. And you know, they're generally stored in a certain place. Now, one or two things could happen. People could have stolen them from that storage place when the set's going through that quality control stage. Or two, this is probably the more unlikely scenario, you know, you could say that if there's ultra rare sheets being cut, that, you know, multiple sheets got misprinted, miscut. Maybe it's, you know, hundreds of sheets of hyper rares or ultra rares coming off. They've been cut, they've been printed, and you've said, oh, sorry, like, you know, I've made a mistake there. Something's gone awry in the printing, and all these are misplaced, misprinted. Now, that's probably a bit more unlikely. I think it's maybe the quality control side of it that, anyway, long story short, these have been taken. Now, that picture, that image, that whole scenario, you know, it all went down a couple of years ago when Fusion Strike came out. And there's a lot of things that this brings about. One is, you know, was Fusion Strike badly impacted by this? You know, were pull rates impacted? Were ultra rares missing from or even rares missing from the spot inside booster packs? You know, is this the reason why Fusion Strike's so bang or bust? Because, you know, so many of these hits got stolen. I think if we compare it to other sets, Chilling Reign before it, Evolving Skies after it, the hit rates or pull rates are somewhat similar. I don't think there was an impact, particularly if it was throughout that, which is probably the more likely story, that quality control sort of period where, these cards weren't going to find their way into retail products anyway. So I don't think it would have impacted any pull rates whatsoever. However, the big question that this whole thing brings about is the whole premise of, should Pokemon Company International disclose pull rates on booster boxes? Because, and this is where this image sort of, struck my thoughts again, because a friend and I just recently opened a heap of NBL cards. Now, these are different, of course, to NBA cards. In Australia, we have the National Basketball League versus obviously you guys in America have the National Basketball Association. Our basketball league, of course, isn't anywhere near as grand as your basketball league. We don't pull the players, we don't pull the income. Occasionally, some retired NBA players will come down here, but it's pretty popular in Australia. Basketball is extremely popular. It's a fantastic sport, and the NBL cards, they won't do what NBA cards will do. They're not going to appreciate over time. People don't want to, open up 10-year-old packs of NBL cards. They're good for the season. So the season that is or was, and picking up latest booster boxes. So anyway, we bought a case and we opened, what did we open in the end? 10 booster boxes, which has 20 packs. So we opened 200 packs. Now, NBL cards in Australia have a very interesting tiered sort of system when it comes to the cards. There's one of one versions, there's one of 5 versions of particular players, one of 10 versions, one of 50 versions, one of 75 versions, one of 100 versions, one of 500 versions. And they've all got different coloured backgrounds to that player that, in that rare spot. So it brings about the notion when it comes to Pokemon, do they or should they disclose the odds of pulling an ultra rare, the odds of pulling a hyper rare, or now that we're in Scarlet and Violet era, the odds of pulling a special illustration rare or illustration rare? Or should they disclose the odds of pulling each individual special illustration rare and illustration rare? And then how possible is that to even work out the mathematics behind that with the sheer number, billions of Pokemon cards that are being printed? Is it even possible? Should it be possible? Should we have that expectation on the Pokemon Company International that they disclose that sort of information? See what I mean? This whole premise around this photo, it brings up so many topics of conversation. Should we have tiered Pokemon or numbered Pokemon cards? Should we have numbered chase cards? And this is the conversation I was having with my mate while we're opening all these, hundreds of packs of NBL cards. Imagine if they did it in Pokemon. What happens if this Team Rocket set comes out next year? And, we have a Team Rockets or a Dark Charizard or something, come back as the main chase card. The new, like a reinvention of the Dark Charizard. Maybe it's new artwork, new version, but, now we've got numbered versions where there's only, 100 in existence. And they're numbered 1 of 100, 2 of 100, 3 of 100. Should Pokemon do that? What happens if they do? I mean, you've got the sealed investors, because this is the conversation we're having. This is where our minds were going. You've got the sealed investors that are keeping booster boxes sealed. And then you've got the guys that are tracking them all going, well, this set's been out for 9 months now. And, we've located or know of 50 of these 100 Dark Charizards that have been opened. So clearly either some of them haven't been disclosed or 50 of them are still waiting in the sealed booster boxes. So does that just ultimately push up sealed booster box prices like crazy? Those 50 Charizards, what's going to happen with their price when they're such a rare sought-after card with limited numbers? What happens if only 5 of those 50 grade a 10? What are they going to be worth? There's so many questions that this brings about. But the big one is, based on this, this photo, should the Pokemon Company International actually disclose to us pull rates? It's a hard one, isn't it? I don't know. I don't work in that facility, but I don't imagine the maths would be too difficult to work out. If you go, okay, the total print run for Fusion Strike, and I'm just plucking numbers out of the air, the total print run for Fusion Strike is 1.5 billion cards. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just plucking numbers out of the air. And out of those, we're going to have 400,000 hyper rares or ultra rares. Let's call them, the alternate arts and the rainbow cards. Let's just focus on the alternate art. We're going to have 400,000 alternate arts. There's 8 alternate art cards inside this set, so there's going to be 50,000 of each alternate art Pokemon card. Now, the numbers would be bigger than this. I'm just plucking them out of the air. But surely you could work out a ratio pretty quickly based on the total print runs that the individual odds to pull a Gengar VMAX from opening a Fusion Strike booster box is Fusion Strike booster pack is 1 in 800. I don't imagine the odds would be all that difficult to actually work out. However, does that ruin the whole mystery or surprise of Pokemon cards? Is it better to just keep it unknown? And I think that's the whole idea behind, the marketing strategy and the push of it is, we're Pokemon Company International and, our products sell well. We like the mystique around, what you're going to pull and when you're going to pull it, or what you're not going to pull and when you're not going to pull it. And we don't need to disclose that information. But hey, tell me your thoughts down below. I know I've just rambled on with a massive, these are just the thoughts going around in my head, really. I don't know if I've really come to a conclusion in this video, but what are your thoughts on it down below? What do you think around, should Pokemon Company International have to disclose pull rates for certain rarities? Should we have numbered cards inside Pokemon card sets? Do you think that would help or hinder the business as a whole? Do you think it'll help or hinder collectors? Do you think it'll help or hinder players? Do you think it'll help or hinder investors? Let me know your thoughts down below. Just a little bit of a different topic for me to have a chat about tonight. I'm Michael, this is PokeOz, and I'll catch you everyone next time.